The Powerpuff Girls are given an idea to have their teacher, Miss Keene, hook up with their father, the professor. The girls send them letters to make it look like someone is sending each other letters to go on a blind date as a secret admirer. They both meet up at a pizza place, which is when they notice the girl spying on them. This is when they realize neither one of them sent love notes to each other. Professor Utonium and Miss Keene then feel some attraction to each other and spend way too much time for themselves and talking to each other, which really puts a strain on the girls' relationship with their father and their teacher, especially with them in a relationship. When the mayor tries to call the girls, he has no choice but to listen to the conversation that's on the other line, and he waits for a time to be able to talk because he doesn't want to interrupt them. This goes on for a long time as things get bad for the town and both of them don't pay attention to what they're doing, until the mayor finally gets a chance to talk to them and later talk with the professor after he and Miss Keene officially break up over the phone. This is when the girls can finally do their duties. Despite Valentine's Day being one of my least favorite days of the year, this episode is alright. I do like the chemistry between the girls' father and their teacher, but they are better off as friends. So far, this episode is going at the top of the list. Mojo Jojo is attacking the town with the help of his robots, and Blossom has no idea of a plan to stop the attack, so Buttercup ends up stopping the attack for the team. Because of things not going so well for Blossom, she runs away from home. Mojo Jojo takes Professor hostage and calls up Blossom at her job to get her to help her sisters and her father. When Blossom comes over, she comes up with a plan to take down Mojo Jojo by sneak attacking him and saving the others. This episode proves that the Powerpuff Girls are nothing without their leader, but there wasn't much to say about this episode. Going at the bottom of the list. A monster attacks the town, but that's nothing that the Powerpuff Girls can't do. They earn the key to the city for their hard work in saving the town. The girls go to bed having nightmares, so this is when the devil or him messes with their dreams. Blossom has a dream where she is in class and everyone turns against her in unison. Buttercup has a dream where she gets a glass of water and has a nightmare about bugs. Bubbles has a nightmare about all her dolls scaring her. The dreams they have are really freaky, as they are all about the fears they have from either recent events or worry about upcoming ones. This is when Blossom shows off how smart she really is when knowing the questions and then escapes to save Buttercup from her nightmare by having her fight against the bugs, and then Blossom saves Bubbles by letting her know that her dreams are not real, so she has to fight back. This is when they all come together to stop him from causing their nightmares in the first place. After that, they wake up from their nightmare to see the professor in their bed after having his own nightmare. This episode is great because it shows how the girls get out of a bad situation, and it won't be the only great episode of season 5. Going at the top of the list, right above Keen on Keen. This episode starts off with a chicken in the middle of town when the Powerpuff Girls beat him up until the chicken asks them to stop. This is when they find out all the monsters have been evicted from their own island as the mayor wants to build something on that island since he found a deed for that island. The townspeople at first do not like the fact that monsters are living in town until the girls convince them that they can live together. This is when on some occasions conflict erupts in town and the people are tired of living with monsters. After that, the monsters move back to the island and have the mayor sign a new deed, and they destroy their factory and take back the island. This episode is okay. I tried a new idea, but ended up falling flat. Going above Not So Awesome Blossom. The Powerpuff Girls have to babysit the talking dog, who just so happens to be a victim of a crime. It takes a lot of time spent with the dog in order for the dog to talk about what happened, such as having a meal or time spent in bed. The girls spend long nights listening to the talking dog trying to explain about what crime has happened to no avail. Even when the mayor and Miss Bellum visit the house, the talking dog still doesn't have much to say except for compliments. After a few nights of the dog sleep talking in his dreams, the girls finally find out the clues to solve the problem. Turns out the so-called crime happens to be a bag of meat bones are meant to be thrown over the river.
You see, the Staglione brothers were trying to secretly dispose of all the leftover rib bones from the bistro. Isn't that right, boys?
That's right. They are beef bones. From our legitimate restaurant business, yes.
The episode is original, but it felt more like a lighthearted comedic take compared to most episodes relating to crime. Going under Monstrous City. The mayor goes to see Professor Utonium and makes him fix the toaster because the toaster is not working. This is when he keeps messing around with certain things in the lab and then messes with the chemical X. growing taller as a result. The mayor then starts a rampage around town, not knowing he is scaring the townspeople. The mayor continues to throw a tantrum, refusing to do any orders. A crazy scene referencing King Kong happens as the mayor climbs a building with Miss Bellum with him. This is when the professor finally fixes his toaster. The girls give him the toast with secret antidote X jelly and milk, and the mayor shrinks back down to size. This episode had some promising parts, especially with the references, but it got ruined by the mayor's attitude. Going at the bottom of the list. The Amoeba Boys argue over who gets to steal an orange when an orange falls off a truck that passes by. So now they have to decide who gets the parts of the orange. This is when we see the Powerpuff Girls in class learning math and Buttercup asking some obvious questions. Some people may be thinking like,
What idiot doesn't know how to count?
which is where we find the Amoeba Boys struggling on. This is until a fight peels orange and it cuts into slices. This is when the Amoeba Boys learn how to multiply by making clones of themselves. When the girls face off against the Amoeba Boys, they put their math skills to the test by using them to lower the amount of clones and take down an army of amoebas. This episode is actually great when they both face off, but it's not the worst episode so far. Going above, shut the pup up. The Powerpuff Girls are ready to go to bed when the professor ends up falling asleep, so the girls end up tucking him into bed before they go to bed. Until someone ends up breaking into the girl's house, and Bubbles is oblivious to what's going on, even when the burglar gives her the milk. So then Blossom probably thinks the burglar is lost or confused. When they confront the burglar, he ends up taking them back to their room without wanting to hear what they say. After that, they scare the crap out of the burglar until he gets back into a corner. This is when the girls encounter the burglar with the professor, and the professor punches the guy in the face while he is sleeping, and the girls kick the burglar out. This episode is like a nod to classic slapstick cartoon comedy with plenty of action, and it's one of the few great episodes of this season. Going above, keen on keen. The professor is studying the villains of Townsville and where they originated from, to which the professor then chooses to study Fuzzy Lumpkin's home out of curiosity because he is the most interesting villain out of all of them. He then goes to the area in which Fuzzy lives at and films the activities he does to help with his studies, until the professor gets noticed and runs away from Fuzzy when he ends up getting stuck and going straight back to Fuzzy's house. This is when Fuzzy mistakes the professor for a woman, since the professor ended up getting into a mess and decides to get married. The girls end up coming over and go everywhere looking for the professor in the woods. Once they find the professor, Fuzzy ends up in love with a piece of dirt and the girls take their father back home. This episode started off well but became quite weird. Going above, toast of the town. Mojo Jojo is shopping at a hardware store for supplies when the girls beat him up over wanting to destroy the town. When that happens, a group of hippie protesters defend Mojo Jojo since he is a monkey, and they say the girls are demonstrating animal cruelty, which doesn't make sense. The girls try to explain themselves that Mojo Jojo is not a friendly animal, but the protesters aren't buying it. Mojo Jojo then ends up asking for sympathy, which somehow works. Mojo Jojo then uses the protesters as a way to get away with his actions and uses the fact that he is a monkey as an excuse to get away with being a villain. Despite what happens, the girls can't do anything about it because of the protest. It's ridiculous how Mojo Jojo keeps getting away with his actions and the protesters and the girls keep arguing over it. The girls then meet up with the mayor and they find out that the law only protects any living animals in the wild, so then they take Mojo Jojo to the wild where he is safe and can do no harm. This episode is way ahead of its time, considering protests like these by animal rights activists became more common over 10 to 20 years after this episode was made. Going under, shotgun wedding. The Powerpuff Girls and the rest of the class are excited to see their teacher when a substitute comes in. The girls are suspicious of the substitute and wonder what happened to Miss Keene. Buttercup and Bubbles think the cookies are poisoned, so they destroy them, when really they weren't that bad, so they have to stay inside for recess. The girls still have thoughts that the teacher's evil, and we have cool manga-like art style of these scenarios. The girls try to fight back against the substitute when the other kids tell them he is not that bad and he is nice. This episode proves that you shouldn't judge people because they are different. I like how they use a different art style in this episode. Going under, burglar alarmed. The Powerpuff Girls are always victorious in everything they do, so much that it makes a certain villain himself mad. This gives an idea. Knowing the girls' reputation as superheroes. After the girls get done fighting a monster, they get surprised to see a certain group of villains are back. That's right, the Rowdy Rough Boys are back and better than ever. They fight each other in a one-on-one, and the boys always outsmart them. The girls then try kissing the boys like they did in the original episode, but they don't blow up. Instead, they grow taller. The devil himself comes in and explains why the Rowdy Rough Boys are not going to go away anytime soon. Now the girls are feeling powerless against the boys. This is when the leader of the Rowdy Rough Boys, Brick, peels off a scab and throws it onto a stop sign. Bush then spits and Boomer ends up catching it with his mouth and then makes a bigger spit. This is probably some of the grossest stuff I've seen in an episode, other than the previous episodes that might have had some gross stuff or similar stuff. The Rowdy Rough Boys then beat up the girls to the point where they are playing games with the girls as the targets. This is when the girls get sick and tired of what's happening to the point where they have to come up with an idea to defeat them. But not before the boys have one final game. During the final game, the boys end up torturing Blossom and Bubbles so much that Buttercup figures out a way to give the boys pain. This is when Blossom has an idea to defeat the boys. The boys end up shrinking down to size and the episode ends. This is a great episode and the best episode this season. It's good to see my favorite villains of the show come back, especially since you know where my name comes from. That's right, the leader of the Rowdy Rough Boys. Going at the top of the list. The Powerpuff Girls wake up one morning to find their bed all wet, but they aren't sure what happened. The girls come up with ideas on what they think might have caused the problem. Even fighting monsters becomes a struggle as they still aren't sure who caused it. The next day, the wet bed problem only gets worse and the girls still argue. This is when the girls are in class and start thinking to themselves about what happened. They start talking to others about their problems and became aware of things in the environment around them. After trying to figure out factors and what caused the bed to be wet, the girls go to bed and stay up to find out what happened. That's right, Mojo Jojo poured water and wet the girls' bed the whole time. This is an episode that focuses on different aspects but with a lot of repetition. Going under, shut the pop up. Princess Morbooks is stuck in traffic when a fight breaks loose. It turns out to be the Rowdy Rough Boys, which crash into their car. This is when the princess gets out her superhero stuff and wants to join the Rowdy Rough Boys by teaming up, but she gets rejected. Princess vents her frustration to the girls on how the boys rejected her, and for the only time, the girls and Princess team up. The girls get the boys' attention by using gadgets the princess found in her storage, and the boys take over and have a good time. This episode is fine at best, but it's cool that we get to see the Rowdy Rough Boys again. Going under, divide and conquer. This episode begins in a prehistoric Townsville. A caveman ends up stealing a bag from someone that looks like the mayor, and the prehistoric Powerpuff Girls try to take the guy down, but they aren't able to. The guy and his elephant then drown in icy water and get stuck there. This is where we find the girls' class on a field trip to the museum. During the overnight shift, the security guard mistakes the exhibit for a thermostat and unfreezes the caveman and the elephant, bringing them back to life. The caveman steals the mayor's seeds. And we then go over to the school where the girls get a call from the mayor about sunflower seeds being stolen. The girls don't think it's a big deal, but the caveman always steals the mayor's sunflower seeds time and time again. The mayor then runs around the town to try and get away from the caveman. The girls freeze the caveman, and that's the episode. This episode is cool because it shows the Powerpuff Girls in a Flintstones-like setting, and the caveman still goes on a wild goose chase with the mayor because he looks similar to someone else that's just like him. Going above, shotgun wedding. The Powerpuff Girls are spending the day at the house cleaning their closet. This is when they reminisce on moments from past episodes, such as the time where Buttercup had her blanket. They also remember when the whole town was turned to dogs, and when Mojo Jojo did it again. There was a time when Professor Utonium turned the girls into little babies, and everyone in town also got turned into babies. Even Mojo Jojo took the girls' powers at one point. There's a sequence from this episode where the girls are teenagers and hang out at a mall and meet up with the Rowdy Rough Boys, but they get so distracted that the town gets attacked. The professor pops in and wants to talk about things he remembered. He and the girls go over that one time the professor almost got married, but it wasn't to a woman. It was actually Mojo Jojo pretending to be Miss Bellum. This is when the mayor comes in and remembers stuff he thought had happened, but never happened. This is when other people come in and ends with the girls chit-chatting with the professor about what happened. This episode is cool, but also strange because we see clips from past episodes and even some parts that never made it into episodes. Going under, the boys are back in town. This episode starts with breakfast as the girls have to eat liver and onions for breakfast while the professor has pancakes. The professor lies about being busy when really he wants to watch a quiz show, which is where the white lie pops up. The girls are not very amused to eat liver and onions, so Bubbles calls some dogs out to feed them the meal. The white lie only grows bigger from here on out as the girls continue lying. After the white light goes around breaking things around the house, the girls come clean and tell the truth about their actions to each other and later to the professor. After they work together to get rid of the white lie, it finally goes away. This episode's just a random idea at best, since the girls didn't have any superhero things to do, which is very rare for the show, as it's only one of a few episodes, especially in this season and others where that happens. Going under, toast to the town. The Rowdy Rough Boys are going around town doing their own shenanigans. At the request of Brick, Boomer steals candy from a kid, and that's when he encounters the Powerpuff Girls. They then lock Boomer up in the basement, and Bubbles steals his clothes so that she can pretend to be Boomer. The other boys come up with plans to do minor crimes and pranks around the town, such as graffiti and spitting, until Brick lets Bubbles, dressed up as Boomer, eat a cockroach. This is when they come back to the house, and Bubbles demonstrates her spit, and Boomer leaves with the rest of the boys getting freed, but without clothes on. This episode is cool because Bubbles goes undercover as Boomer and we get to see the Rowdy Rough Boys more often. Going under, City of Clipsville. A filmmaker is on a mission to get to know the Powerpuff Girls and what they do in their lives, including their hobbies and what they like doing outside of crime fighting. First, he goes up to the house to have an interview with the girls, but when he knocks, the girls leave to go do their business. After that, he goes downtown to see what's going on, but the girls quickly fight off the monster and fly away. Then the host interviews their teacher, and she explains what happens while the girls are in school, but she knows nothing about them outside of school. There are even interviews with the garbage man and a police officer until the host decides to try and talk with the mayor and his assistant. Unfortunately, they are not interested considering the interview wasn't scheduled. After not being able to conduct interviews with the villains, the host goes back to the police officer to see about getting a better view of the girls fighting a battle. Unfortunately, the girls already left when they were able to get there. The filmmaker almost gives up until he captures Mojo Jojo robbing a jewelry store, then fighting with the girls. This is when the girls save the man from being taken away by Mojo Jojo, and the episode ends. This episode is great because it gives a brief synopsis on the show, and Brian's documentary tells the story as best as he could get. Going above, City of Clipsville. This episode starts with two parents having to talk with the professor about there being a so-called influence on children because of the Powerpuff Girls. The parents tell the professor to have the girls stop using their powers as a result of a petition signed by all the parents of the town. This is when the girls have to call 911 to stop a carjacking, and the police aren't doing anything to stop it. This proves that the girls are useless without their superpowers. Crime is skyrocketing around Townsville as a result. The Dukes of Doom wreak havoc amongst Townsville, and this makes the girls go to the practices home, and after the girls try their best to convince them, and when the Dukes of Doom terrorize the house, they finally let the girls use their superpowers, making the legal contract void. This episode is a satire of overprotective parents and those parent groups, and the damage they could do at best. Going above, lying around the house. This episode starts as a musical where the villains of Townsville sing about wreaking havoc on the whole town. This is when the Powerpuff Girls come in with their own musical number, beating up the villains, but they end up getting outnumbered, leading into a sad song. The girls wish for good things to happen to them in the world, which leads to their voices being answered. A gnome pops up and promises to fix the town, but only if the girls give him their powers. The girls decide to do this, knowing they can be normal little girls finally. The gnome uses his magic to fix the town, but only at one price, taking away the girls' powers. The townspeople are finally seeing hope that things are finally bright thanks to the gnome. Because of the people being sheep for the gnome, the professor warns the girls about the bad things going on. This inspires the girls to confront the gnome. The girls scare the gnome by warning him about what he did to the town, taking away the girls, just a rule against the town, and the girls fight back by pushing him off the cliff, and things go back to normal. This is a great episode despite it being a musical number because it shows the differences between good and evil and how things could go wrong when things go differently. Going under, a documentary. The professor is trying to cook something in the kitchen. This makes the girls decide if they should check to see if dinner is ready. So when Bubbles loses rock, paper, scissors, she goes downstairs to check. The professor swears after burning his hand on the pot handle, and Bubbles comes back with nothing to say. Bubbles then starts coloring, and she gets upset when her crayon breaks, so she says a word she learned from the professor. The other girls find out about it, and they love saying the swear word they learned. The girls are in class receiving a grade on their paper, and Buttercup swears in class, causing them to be put in timeout. Then they go see the mayor where he asks them for help with the pickle jar, and the girls cuss him out. After the girls save the day many times, without realizing they are saying it as they are swearing at people to express themselves, the girls find the toilet with the potty mouth going on a rampage around the town. The girls argue with the toilet monster until the professor sees what is going on. He then talks with the girls on why they shouldn't use that word, and finally the girls take down the toilet monster for using those words. This episode proves that when you're a kid, you shouldn't be using swear words around people when you are very young, especially to insult people, so this episode gives out a good message to kids. Going under, Bubble Boy. Mojo Jojo is having a yard sale where everything must go. The girls in the Gang Green Gang are also checking out the yard sale as well. The girls fired the Gang Green Gang to be able to get a weapon for Mojo Jojo so the Gang Green Gang doesn't get it. The girls do tasks to earn the money while the gangsters just steal it from them. After trying everything to get the money, the girls ask their father, the professor, for some money to buy the Destructoway. So then they have to do a list of chores for the professor. The Gang Green Gang turns out to come short of enough money needed to buy the Destructoway because Big Billy bought a teddy bear. The girls were going to buy it, but instead the mayor ended up buying it. The mayor then proved the ray can make snow cones. After that, the girls sell the Gang Green Gang for 25 cents. This episode is alright, not the worst episode, but it also proves this season is not afraid to experiment with different ideas for this show. Going under, see no evil. Everyone wants to go see the newest movie at the theater, while the professor decides to take the girls to the silent theater to see a silent movie. The professor wants to teach the girls where movies came from as a learning experience. The girls watch a silent film about a villain who has someone taken hostage. After the girls tease the main character, they find out the professor is being trapped in the film and the girls have to rescue the guy. Once the girls find their way into the film, they have to find a way to rescue the professor but without the superpowers. They call the police to chase the bandit and the professor, and during the chase, there's reference to the actor Charlie Chaplin, which is cool. They get on a plane, and the girls and the police hang on tight until they get to Africa, and a gorilla takes over the plane. This is when Bubbles tears the film reel and the movie ends. The girls meet up with the actor in the projection booth and find out that he used to play in the silent movies. The girls decide to offer the actor a role in a color picture playing as the professor, and that's where the episode ends. This episode is a cool nod to silent films, but the episode didn't have much of a plot. Going under, substitute creature. The usual crime that always happens is foiled by the Powerpuff Girls. That is, until the girls find a peculiar group of villains robbing the bank. Because of how cute they are, they get away with their crimes and the girls get frowned upon for trying to stop it. Buttercup is shamed upon for confronting them because the townspeople think it's animal abuse, when really it's not. The people are brainwashed by the animals into letting them get away with it, unfortunately. Each time they rob a certain place, they always use their cuteness to get away with it. This is when the girls decide to take the Fluffy Bunch to the mayor, and even he is overwhelmed by their cuteness that he decides to give them a pardon for the crimes they do. The girls feel powerless as the Fluffy Bunch always gets away with committing crimes, and the girls are shamed for animal cruelty for going after them. Finally, the girls decide to set up a trap for the Fluffy Bunch animal group. That's right, the girls have their entire kindergarten class go after them by designing the school as a bank to let them think they will rob a bank when that isn't the case. They get overwhelmed by all the kids to the point where it helps stop them in their tracks. This was a good episode because it shows that even when the girls can't be able to do their job, they always find a way. Going above, boy toys. Here we have the Christmas special of the Powerpuff Girls. This special starts with the girls, specifically Bubbles, getting ready for winter break, and she is very excited for Christmas. Princess Morbucks pops in, talking about the one thing she wants to be. She wants to be a Powerpuff Girl. The girls tell her it's not happening, knowing all the bad stuff she does and that she is naughty. The princess couldn't believe she is naughty, and she asks her family and others if she is naughty, but they are too scared to answer her question. So the princess takes a flight to the North Pole to go to Santa's workshop. While that happens, the girls are getting ready for Christmas, and everything is almost great until the professor tries to plug in the tree, but it doesn't fully work yet. Once the princess makes it to Santa's workshop, she decides to alter Santa's list by making everyone naughty while making her nice and leaves like a bandit. This is when Bubbles wakes up to see coal in their stockings and everyone else having coal too. The other girls then wake up to see the bottom of this, so they decide to go to the North Pole themselves. That's when they meet the princess, who of course gets what she wants. So they travel to the North Pole and fight the princess on the way there before they confront Santa. That's when Santa realizes how good the girls are, and he realizes how rude Princess Morbucks is, to the point where he fixes the list to put the princess on the permanent naughty list. While he does that, the princess tries to flee, but Santa decides to take away her superpowers as a result of this. Unfortunately, things go horribly wrong, and Santa himself can't fix the problem he caused. This is when he gets the Powerpuff Girls to help do the job for Santa, and things go really well. Everything is fixed, and all is happy in the end, and the princess gets what she deserves. This is a really great Christmas special, and I thought I would include this special because it aired during this season. Going under, the boys are back in town.